Just saying just a while ago we are in a bad state of affairs. Why do you say that?
South Africa is in a difficult space. 4 out of 10 South Africans don't work. Youth unemployment is at the highest. Debt in this country is skyrocketing to a point where we are borrowing R1 billion per day as a country. This is an indicator of a government that has failed its people, it's looted resources, and today I'd hope that the Minister of Finance would come up with an economic plan. None was forthcoming. He'd come up with a plan about which departments we were going to cut so that we can free up the resources to the people. None was forthcoming. He minced his words about state-owned enterprises by saying we should decide what we're going to do, as if he's not part of the government. We should by now have sold some of the state-owned enterprises so that we can give money to poor South Africans, give it to the poor, give it to the people of this country. It's become quite clear this is a government that wants more of the same but different outcomes. Projected growth this year was already from 0.7 to just over 1.2. This shows that actually the ANC has no plan to grow the economy, deliver jobs for our people, and I would feel that instead of coming out today more hopeful, I feel that South Africans need courage to recognize that if we don't change the government, we'll end up tabling the same budget in the adjustment period for the same outcomes.
Mr. Musmaimane, thank you so much for your time. Of course, that is the leader of the official opposition. For more reaction now, I'm going to cross to Manelisi on the other side.
I'm here with the Minister of Communication, Stella Ndabeni-Abrahams. The Minister touched on some of the departments which are under her department, some entities that are under her department. Minister, thank you very much for joining us. Hashtag data must fall. Do you agree?
I fully agree, and I'm sure even viewers at home are happy. They've listened to the Minister of Finance's speech. He spoke on the critical issues that will definitely lead to the data must fall. First things first, of course, everybody was worried what's going to happen with SABC, and we're happy to say we're going home happy, baby. But on top of that, the Minister spoke to a crucial fact of making sure that we work together in ensuring that we issue the policy directive in terms of spectrum allocation. And therefore, that means that if we're going to give you spectrum, as much as you're going to pay us, we're going to make sure that you have obligations and data has to fall.
When is the bailout for the SABC coming?
Definitely we can't put in terms of the dates because that's the responsibility of Treasury. What we happy about, the Minister included it in his speech.
Minister, thank you very much for your time. That was the Minister of Communication, Minister Stella Ndabeni. Nombo?
Thanks very much. Well, I'm joined by Vuyani Jahana. He's the CEO of South African Airways. Thank you very much for joining us. Sir, your reaction to the budget speech?
A very good budget, pro-poor budget, but also a consistent picture by the state to support the transformation of state-owned enterprises to self-sustainable entities. So far, I think good outcomes.
And just give us some clarification as to the change that's going to be taking place at SAA in order for it to be more viable and sustainable.
So we are focused on a number of things, bring a greater commercial focus and profit and loss accountability within SAA. SAA has got 3 markets, domestic, international and regional. What we are doing, we are structuring the business units within SAA, no new companies, but specifically bringing more accountability, putting together teams that are going to be dedicated to drive our growth across the continent, at the same time making sure that we continue to lead in the domestic market and also give greater accountability for profit and loss accountability and commercial delivery to the international markets. 70% of the revenues of SA are coming from outside South Africa. That means that the structure, the governance, the process of taking decision must be more inclusive. That's the change we're putting in place so that all of us are accountable for results.
All the very best, sir. Thank you so much. Now we're going to cross to Bulelani.
All right, thank you so much, Nompu. We can talk a lot of things coming out of this budget, but now I'm going to bring into this conversation the NFP Chief Whip, Professor Nhlanhla Khubisa. Prof, one of the biggest issues coming into this budget was the issue of rationalizing state-owned enterprises. The pronouncement by the Finance Minister, are they satisfying to your party?
Well, they're not satisfying at all. For instance, Eskom at the moment as we speak is technically insolvent. The whole matter of Eskom should have been consequence management. There's been no technical skills and people have not been performing. and we pump money into Eskom. 23 billion a year. In 3 years, it would be 69 billion. The question is, why would you pump money instead of correcting internally within Eskom, bringing skills, ensuring that these state-owned enterprises are well run? You know, the whole concept of unbundling again was not well explained. We were hoping that the concept of unbundling was going to explain. SAA, for instance, has received about 5 billion, and we have not seen the results, and we are moving towards rationalization instead of ensuring that we get the right people with skills, we bring them in, we ensure that the company benefits. With regard to SAA, for instance, we said there must be an equity pattern that will be brought in to ensure that it works correctly. Now, pumping money all the time, why are they failing to work like land bank, which would borrow and then give back to the state? In other words, there is no way we can say that the rationalization program will work because we are pumping money here. As we speak right now, Eskom is owing over 420 billion. That is quite a lot, and it's consuming, that is about 8% of the GDP, and also it's taking about 60% of the entire budget. So the whole money is being poured there, and there are no results. We want to see the result and consequence management in Eskom in particular.
All right, Professor Nhlanhla Kubisa, thank you so much for your time. That is the Chief Whip of the NFP. And now we're going to cross to Manelisi on the other side of the precinct for more reaction.
Thank you very much, Bulelane. And we are continuing with this reaction from outside the National Assembly, where the minister made his budget statement just a short while ago. I'm joined right now by the leader of the Freedom Front Plus, Dr. Peter Groenewald. Dr. Groenewald, thanks very much for coming. Your take, please.
Well, South Africa is in trouble. We are borrowing 1.2 billion a day, but the interest alone is 1 billion a day. So that means that we don't really have money to spend. And in the end, we pay almost all the money we borrow just for interest rates. We welcome the fact of the stopping of the increases of the wage bill when it comes especially to the executives of SOEs, but we also say that they should have extended it to the senior management of state departments. There are some DGs whose salaries are more than that of the President of South Africa. We are also worried that the fact that they are going to allow early retirement, that we are going to lose some skilled people in our state departments. We need certain skills, and therefore we say that if we look at overall at the budget, the Freedom Front Plus is worried about the debt situation, and we are not so sure that we're really going to create jobs. The minister should have gone further to make it more conducive for public businesses to come and invest in South Africa. He only referred to certain visas, but that is not really sorted out at the moment. So there was no real matters that has been announced to allow investors to come to South Africa. The land issue, we see that they've put aside about 2.3 and 2.4 billion rand for the getting of land to ensure that upcoming farmers will get some land. We still say that if we look also at 1.7 billion for 262 farming projects, there are so many farming projects when it came to land reform that actually collapsed, that they first have to ensure that those projects are successful before they start with new ones. So in whole, the Freedom Front Plus is worried about the future when it comes to the finances of South Africa, and I do foresee that in the end they will have to increase taxes to get the money. We see 29 cents fuel levy at this moment. That's going to hit motorists hard next month, because the other factors in the fuel price will also increase. So motorists in South Africa will have to steel themselves for quite an increase in the petrol levy.
Dr. Groenewald, thank you very much for your time. That's the leader of the FF Plus, Dr. Groenewald, touching on the issues of land and the wage bill. Right now we go back to Nombu.
Thanks very much. Well, Well, certainly a very tight rope to walk. And Dennis Dykes, he's the chief economist at Nedbank. He says it was a contractionary budget. Just tell us why.
Yeah, although the deficit is actually going up, a lot of the reason for that is basically the Eskom story. So trying to actually rescue Eskom has obviously led to a big deterioration in the overall finances of government. So even though we've seen an increase in spending, it's really just basically going into unproductive spending, and a lot's been taken away from the consumer.
And in terms of the ratings agencies, has enough been done for us not to be seen in a bad light?
Yeah, look, I think unfortunately the reality is that the finances are very, very stretched. So I think the way that the Treasury has, what they've come up with is actually probably the best solution under the circumstances, but it's going to be a very tight call. My own feeling is that they'll probably wait until after the election, reassess the situation, see what's happening with the restructuring process, and also assess what economic policy is, because fundamentally what we need now is economic growth to get us out of this hole.
Absolutely. Thanks very much, Mr. Dykes, chief economist at Nedbank. Now we cross to Bulelani.
Thank you so much, Nompu. Such a lot of talking points right here.